She starts the story the way only a woman who has seen way too much nonsense can, with that slow, dangerous smile that says, "Oh, honey, you are not ready for this." Because tonight's tale? It's about the night her best friend threw a surprise party. A surprise party that plot twist wasn't for the woman who walked through the door. Not even close. She had spent the whole week convinced something romantic was brewing. Her boyfriend was acting weird, mysterious, cagey, deleting messages like a teenager who just discovered privacy. Normally, he couldn't hide a candy bar without looking guilty, but suddenly, he had the energy of a man auditioning for FBI's most suspicious boyfriend. And she, bless her hopeful heart, thought he was planning something sweet. Maybe a proposal? They had been together for years. He wasn't perfect, more like the human equivalent of an old sneaker, but he was predictable. And predictability, for someone who wants to believe in people, feels like safety. So when her best friend, let's call her Clara, because every woman knows at least one Clara who smiles too much and talks too sweet, invited her to a small get-together on a Friday night, she thought it was odd. Odd but promising. She showed up wearing the blue dress her boyfriend always said made her look like a bride. Oh, the irony. The sweet, painful irony. When she arrived at Clara's place, the lights were off. No voices. No music. Just silence thick enough to slice. She pushed open the door because of course it was unlocked. Bad stories always begin with unlocked doors, and walked in with her heart pounding. She was ready for the surprise moment, ready to pretend she hadn't seen it coming. Instead, the lights flicked on, and everything fell apart. There he was, her boyfriend, sitting on the couch, with Clara on his lap. Not next to him. Not near him. On his lap. It was almost impressive how cliché the moment was. She didn't even get the chance to ask the classic "what's going on?" because it was painfully obvious. Clara leapt off him like a guilty raccoon caught rummaging through the trash. The boyfriend stared at her with the wide-eyed panic of someone who just remembered the stove is still on. And then he delivered the world-famous line every cheating man has tattooed on his soul. "It's not what it looks like." Sure, buddy. And the Titanic was just going for a swim. Clara started rambling something about it being a misunderstanding, which was hilarious considering she had just been using the man as a recliner. But the part that made the universe collectively facepalm? The moment Clara blurted, "The surprise party wasn't for you." And for a second, just one, nobody breathed. The protagonist just stared at the two of them, in their dimly lit dollar store romance setup, trying to understand how our night had gone from maybe "help propose" to maybe "I need therapy." Then the boyfriend, sweating like a man who knows he's done for, added, "Yeah, the party was for me." Her boyfriend. A surprise party. Thrown by her best friend. For him. And she wasn't even invited. That was the moment the night officially jumped off a cliff. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there thinking, wow, this is exactly the kind of stupidity that makes the universe expand. And that's where this disaster of a love story really begins. The silence after his pathetic confession was so thick it could have been packaged and sold as emotional concrete. She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't offer either of them the mercy of a reaction. Clara was the first to speak, off course, because people asimically guilty always rush to explain. "I just wanted to do something special for him." Special. Right. Because sitting in the dark on his lap, whispering walk knows what, definitely screamed special, but in the way a speeding ticket is special. Her boyfriend stepped forward, hands raised like he expected her to pull out a weapon. "We didn't mean for you to find out like this." Like this. As if any method of discovery would have made it less disgusting. Then Clara dropped another bomb, because apparently she was trying to win an award for Worst Human of the Year. "He said you don't like parties. That's why we didn't invite you." Oh. Oh, that was rich. She turned her head slowly, very slowly toward him, the way a tsunami turns toward a shoreline. "I don't like parties?" He swallowed. Hard. "I just didn't want you to feel uncomfortable." Uncomfortable. Right. Because women famously hate attending surprise parties for their own partners. It's practically our #1 phobia. The living room looked like a depressing rom-com crime scene, 2 wine glasses set for a romantic evening, a giant cake that said for someone's special vomit balloons half inflated, like even they were embarrassed to be part of this circus. She asked one question, the only one that mattered. How long? He hesitated. Clara did not. 2 weeks.
2
weeks. Not a mistake. Not a moment of weakness. A schedule. The kind of planning people use for vacations or dental appointments, not emotional cheating with your girlfriend's best friend. Her boyfriend looked guilty, but in the way a toddler looks guilty after breaking something cheap. Clara, meanwhile, kept darting between them like she was choosing the best angle to present her innocence. Then came the kicker. Why tonight?
She asked.
The boyfriend looked at the floor, then at Clara, then back at the floor like maybe it would open up and swallow him. It's the anniversary. Anniversary of what? She asked. He exhaled. The day Clara and I met. There it was. Not their anniversary as a couple. Not a shared milestone. Just the cute little anniversary of when he met her behind her back. Clara looked at him with the softness of someone who absolutely knew what she was doing. She stood perfectly still.
Calm.
Controlled. That scared them more than yelling ever could. So let me get this straight, she said. You two planned a secret anniversary celebration for yourselves, while I walked into the room thinking you might propose. Neither of them answered. She walked toward the door, grabbed her bag, and turned back with the kind of serene composure only a woman on the brink of evolving into a higher life form can achieve. Enjoy your party. And she left. No tears. No drama. Just a door closing quietly behind her, like the universe saying, he's all yours, Clara. Good luck. But she had barely made it halfway down the block when her phone buzzed. A message. From Clara. Please come back. You don't understand. She almost laughed. Then another message came in his time from him. Don't go far. There's something I need to tell you. Something else. Something worse. A truth that still hadn't been revealed. And if there was one thing she hated more than betrayal, it was unfinished sentences. She turned around. If there was more filth to uncover, then she was going to rip it out by the roots. She walked back into the building with the energy of someone who wasn't returning for reconciliation, but for evidence. If there was more to uncover, she was going to excavate it with both hands. The apartment door was still unlocked because of course it was. She stepped inside and found exactly what she expected: Clara crying in theatrical hiccups on the edge of the couch, and her boyfriend pacing the room like a man who realized the emergency exit was locked from the outside. Both froze when she walked in. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her silence had the emotional weight of a lawsuit. Clara sniffled.
We didn't want it to happen like this.
Funny. Because every single thing about this night screamed this is exactly how it was going to happen. She stayed near the door, arms crossed.
Talk.
It was the boyfriend who spoke first, of course. Cowards always rush. We got close. But nothing happened. Nothing physical. Clara nodded aggressively, like a bobblehead with anxiety.
She didn't respond.
Not a flinch. Not a breath. And that terrified them more than screaming ever could. The boyfriend continued, voice cracking. It started a few months ago. After that big argument we had, remember?
She was just there.
Listening. Being supportive. Oh yes. The classic she was just comforting me storyline. A tale as old as time, and as pathetic as ever. He kept talking. It was just texts and conversations at first. Then dinners. But it was never more. Clara lowered her head at that, which said more than any of his excuses. She spoke calmly. Was there a kiss? Clara's eyes widened. He froze. And that was all the confirmation she needed. Clara exhaled. It was just once. Just once. Sure. And people only fall off cliffs just once too. Her boyfriend stepped forward, desperate. It didn't mean anything. Clara winced, clearly wishing had chosen literally any other set of words. She didn't react. Instead, she asked, how long ago? Clara answered instantly. A month. A month. Not days. Not an accident. A month of silence. A month of secrets. A month of letting her live her life like nothing was happening. She felt a shift inside her, something snapping quietly, cleanly, peacefully. Her boyfriend tried again. It didn't go further. We didn't want to make it serious. Clara's breath trembled. That sentence hurt her. Interesting. Then Clara whispered, "It did get serious, at least for me. Finally. Some honesty." She lifted her chin and looked directly at the boyfriend. "And you?" He opened his mouth,
Paused.
closed it, looked at the floor. That silence was the answer. He didn't deny it,
Didn't fight it.
didn't say no. And Clara took a tiny step closer to him instinctively.
He didn't move away.
That was the real betrayal. Not the kiss. Not the secrecy. Not the fake party. It was that tiny step. That tiny moment where he chose a side without saying a word. It was tragic and stupid at the same time. She inhaled slowly.
Perfect, she said.
"I've heard enough." She turned toward the door. Clara's voice cracked behind her. "Please don't hate me. I never meant to lose you." Her boyfriend tried to speak too, but she was done. At the door, she said, "You two deserve exactly what you're doing to each other. No yelling. No dramatics. Just true the scalpel disguised as a sentence." She stepped out. As she walked down the hallway, she heard Clara whisper behind the closed door, "Do you think we can be together now?" And his barely audible answer, "I don't know." She smiled. Not because it was funny, because it was poetic. Two people who betrayed her, and still didn't want each other enough to make it worth it. That wasn't love. That was karma. And she let the elevator doors close with a quiet satisfaction. This disaster was just beginning to rot from the inside. And oddly enough, she was finally free. By the time she stepped outside, the night air felt different, cooler, lighter, almost like the universe had cracked a window to let the stupidity fumes escape. She walked a few blocks with no destination, letting everything settle the way dust settles after a demolition. Her phone was blowing up, of course. Missed calls from her boyfriend. Long messages from Clara that looked like a thesaurus of excuses. She didn't open any of them. It was almost comedic, really, how people who break you always want to stick around to explain, as if the explanation would magically glue your dignity back together. 3 hours earlier, she thought she might end the night engaged. Now, the only ring she wanted was the one on silent mode. She stopped at the corner.
Just stood there.
Breathing.
Processing.
She thought about all the times Shed defended Clara, all the times Shed reassured her boyfriend, all the times Shed ignored her gut because she believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt. Looking back, that benefit had been a charity project, and she was done funding it. Her phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but the preview message caught her eye. "Saw you leave. You okay?" It was her downstairs neighbor, the quiet guy who always held the elevator door, always smiled politely, always minded his own business. A refreshing trait in a world full of Claras. She replied with a simple "I'm fine. Thanks." No drama. No explanation. Just acknowledgement. Still, she didn't feel like going home yet. Her apartment felt too clean, too safe, too separate from the sewage spill Shed just crawled out of. But she didn't want to wander the streets either. So she did the most unexpected thing. She went back home. When she stepped into her apartment, she was hit by a strange peace. No fake romantic setup. No lies. No hidden agendas. Just her space, her air, her silence. She sat on the couch and let her mind wander through the night's chaos. The secret anniversary. The Camelot table for two. The kiss. Clara's confession. His silence. It all felt absurd now, almost funny in a deeply tragic way. Her phone vibrated again, his name glowing on the screen. She let it ring. Again. Let it ring. A third time.
Ignored.
Fourth time ignored. Then a text popped up. "We need to talk. Clara didn't tell you everything." She rolled her eyes, so hard, she nearly saw the back of her skull. Of course there was more. There's always more when the people you trusted turn out to be emotional sinkholes. She tossed the phone aside until another message appeared. "This isn't about excuses. It's about something Clara kept from both of us." That made her pause. She picked up the phone.
Typed. Say it.
But instead of answering, he hesitated. She could tell by the typing bubbles that kept appearing and disappearing. Finally, he sent. Clara didn't pursue me out of nowhere. She had a reason. A reason? Oh, fantastic. The plot thickened like expired yogurt. She leaned back, waiting. He continued. You think she liked me. But that wasn't it. She narrowed her eyes.
Typed.
Then what? 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15. Then the message came. Clara wasn't jealous of me. She was jealous of you.
She froze.
Jealousy? Of her? Before she could respond, another message came through. She's been jealous of you for years.
Years.
And suddenly, pieces started falling into place. Little comments. Little jokes. Little comparisons disguised as compliments. She remembered Clara copying her clothes for fun. Picking up her hobbies by coincidence. Showing up everywhere she went accidentally. And then the final message of the sequence dropped like a brick. She wanted your life.
Not me.
Her stomach tightened not out of fear, but clarity. Sharp, cold clarity.
She typed.
Keep talking. Because she knew this wasn't the end. There was more. And whatever it was going to be uglier than everything she'd already seen. The next message came faster, like had been waiting for her to take the bait. Clara was never after me. She wanted to hurt you. Lovely. Nothing like a little psychological warfare between best friends.
She typed. Why? He didn't hesitate this time.
She said you always had everything. Everything. That word alone made her laugh short, dry, disbelieving. She. The woman who doubted herself constantly. She, who second-guessed even her own texts. She, who worked twice as hard for half the praise. Everything.
Sure.
Another message. She compared herself to you all the time. Your family.
Your job.
Your friends. Your look. Everything. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces she had ignored for years rearranged into a painfully obvious picture. Clara trying her hairstyle. Clara buying the same jacket. Clara taking up the same hobbies a week after she mentioned them. Clara showing up uninvited to places she said she randomly wanted to try. All those little moments she brushed off as coincidences.
Cute.
Funny. Harmless. Turns out they were symptoms. The next message popped up. She told me once that people thought you were untouchable. Her heart stopped for half a second, not from hurt, but from the sheer absurdity of it. Untouchable? Her?
She typed.
She said that? He replied instantly. She said you were the kind of woman nobody could break. And she hated it. There it was. The truth under all the glitter and fake friendship. Clara didn't want her boyfriend. Clara didn't even want a relationship. Clara wanted a crack in her. A flaw. A wound. Proof that her life wasn't as put together as Clara imagined. And then came the next bomb. She got close to me because she wanted to prove you're not perfect. She said if I hurt you, people would finally see the real you.
Perfect.
Another word that made her laugh quiet and sharp. Because she wasn't perfect. Nobody is. But Clara had built an entire conspiracy based on the fantasy that she was. Another message. She said you needed to be brought down to earth. She sat there, shaking her head in disbelief. If it weren't so pathetic, it would have been cinematic. But then came the worst part.
The part she didn't expect.
She wasn't just jealous. She was obsessed. Her fingers froze above the screen. Obsessed. Not jealous. Not insecure.
Obsessed.
He continued before she could ask. She watched everything you did.
She copied you. She studied you.
And then, she told me hurting you would make you human again. Her stomach tightened not in fear, but in revulsion. This wasn't friendship turned sour. This wasn't a crush gone wrong. This was a woman quietly unraveling behind a smile she had trusted. She typed slowly. Is that all? But she already knew it wasn't. People like Clara never stop at jealousy. And he confirmed it with a single sentence. There's one more thing. She waited. His next message arrived like a punch. Clara told me that if I left you for her, it would finally give you something the two of you had in common. Her chest went cold. Something in common. The words twisted in her mind.
She typed.
Meaning what? He replied. She said you've always been the lucky one. She wanted you to know what it feels like to lose. She tightened her jaw. So that was it. The grand motive. The big reveal. Clara didn't want him. She didn't want love. She didn't want a relationship. She wanted to watch her fall. The final message from him landed. She thought breaking your heart would balance things out. Balance. As if pain was currency. As if betrayal was justice. She closed her eyes for a second, letting the truth settle like dust after a building collapses. Clara hadn't been her friend for a long time, if ever. She'd been a shadow. A mirror. A parasite dressed as a companion. But she still asked the last question. Is there anything else I should know? His answer came fast.
Yes.
Clara planned everything. Her blood went still. Everything. The dinner. The secrecy. The fake surprise party. The anniversary lie. Even the timing of the kiss. All of it.
Planned.
Coordinated.
Designed.
Not for love, but for destruction. She stared at the message, not angry, not devastated. Just done. Completely, irrevocably done. She didn't type another word. She blocked him. Blocked Clara. Blocked everything connected to the two of them. And for the first time all night, for the first time in weeks, months, maybe years, she felt free. She stared at her phone for a long moment, letting the final message sit, the confession that everything Clara had done was planned, calculated, intentional. Not out of passion. Not out of confusion. Out of envy. Out of obsession. Out of a twisted desire to watch her break.
But she didn't break.
Instead, she blocked his number. Blocked Clara. Blocked every reminder of them. Silence filled the apartment. Real silence. The kind that isn't empty, but peaceful. She stood up, walked to the bathroom, and looked at herself in the mirror. Not searching for flaws. Not searching for answers. Just looking. She didn't see perfection. She didn't see heartbreak. She didn't see loss. She saw clarity. A woman who survived the most ridiculous emotional circus imaginable without losing herself. She went to the door when it buzzed, half expecting another tantrum from her ex, another desperate attempt at closure. But instead, a soft, familiar voice spoke from the other side. It's me, your neighbor. Just checking on you. She opened the door. He stood there holding a mug of tea, looking awkward and kind in the most unthreatening way possible. You looked upset earlier, he said, so I made this.
You don't have to take it.
She smiled, an actual, real smile. Thank you. I appreciate it. He nodded and stepped back gently. If you ever need anything, I'm downstairs. No pressure. No agenda. No manipulation. Just decency. Something she had forgotten existed for a minute. She closed the door, leaned her back against it, and breathed. Deeply. Fully. The next morning, she packed everything that reminded her of him into a single box. Not to burn it dramatically, although tempting. Just to remove it from her life. To make space. Space for peace. Space for quiet. Space for her. She didn't cry. She didn't spiral. She didn't replay the betrayal over and over. She was done giving them real estate in her mind. Over the next weeks, life settled back into place. She focused on her work.
Saw her family.
Went out with friends, actual friends. She laughed again. Slept better. Ate better. And most importantly, she didn't look for closure. She didn't look for revenge. She didn't look for meaning in what Clara did. Because insanity doesn't need meaning. And betrayal doesn't deserve analysis. Months later, she saw them. Clara and her ex walking together down a grocery aisle. Except they weren't holding hands. Weren't smiling. Weren't glowing with forbidden love. They looked miserable. Awkward. Unstable. Like two people who set their own life on fire and were shocked it burned. They noticed her. She noticed them. No one spoke. She walked past them with zero hesitation, zero emotion, zero weight. And that nothingness, that absolute, complete nothingness, was victory. Not because they lost, but because she no longer cared enough for it to count as a win. She went home, made coffee, opened her windows, let sunlight spill across her kitchen counter, and realized something simple and sharp. Clara never envied her perfect life. She envied her ability to be happy without hurting anyone. And her ex? He had been a prop.
A tool.
A pawn in a game that only Clara was playing. But Shed stepped out of that game. Shed walked off the stage. Shed let the whole pathetic play collapse without her. And in the end, the real twist wasn't the betrayal. It was the peace that came after it.
She didn't just survive the mess.
She outgrew it. The story didn't end with a broken heart or a dramatic reconstruction. It ended with sunrise, warm air, new beginnings, and the quiet, confident knowledge that her life was hers again. And this time, nobody was getting close enough to steal it.